Today's postcard is franked with a famous English royal dynasty, that of the House of Lancaster. We're in the city of Lancaster. This is the house of the judges' lodgings, so called because when the judges arrived in Lancaster, they needed somewhere to stay before they presided over the court, which was held up at Lancaster Castle. And just over there is the east gate of the Roman fort, to just show how historic Lancaster is and how far back it goes. The judges' lodgings is where they came and stayed, is what I said outside. Is that true?
That is right, and in fact, whilst we know that the judges were here from 1775 to 1975, in fact there's a long association of the judges' lodgings with the judges, because Thomas Covell, who was the keeper of the castle in the Tudor despotism, he was instructed to look after the judges, so it could very well be that the judges were here even in the 1580s, 1590s, 1600s, at the time when the Pendle witches were being persecuted by Covell, actually.
Now, the judges themselves, were they a good lot, or were there some nasty creatures amongst them as well?
I suppose it depends on what side you were. I suppose it depends whether you're a Catholic or a witch, or somebody who thought they were a witch, or whether you're a Protestant. Certainly in Tudor times, it would nicely balance out. Some of them would be very nice, some of them would be appalling.
No Judge Jeffreys up here necessarily then?
Well, funnily enough, Judge Jeffreys was quite often around in Lancashire at that particular time, and I wouldn't be surprised if he'd actually been in this building.
And then got up to the castle to sentence a few people.
Well, yes, and no doubt he would be saying, as he usually would do, if the jury brought in the wrong verdict, he would say, go back and think again. I think so.
When was this house actually built?
It must have been built in the very early 16th century, but it has indeed been improved over the years. In fact, the room that we're in now, even though it's 16th century, all of the fittings and all the interior woodwork belong to the very late 17th century.
And now in this particular room, you've got some classic pieces of furniture here. Look at this in front of us.
This is so absolutely marvellous, you know. For collectors of furniture, it must make them dissatisfied with life. What you're looking at is the greatest piece of Gillow furniture that is actually known. It was made for Sir Thomas Ibbotson in 1778. Sir Thomas Ibbotson lived in Otley in Yorkshire. Now, very interestingly, Otley is where Thomas Chippendale himself came from. And this desk here, made in 1778, was made by Gillows in accordance with a design that's in the first edition of the Gentleman and Cabinet Makers Directory, the great pattern book of Chippendale. Not the second edition, but the first edition.
And
wonderful.
How much is this worth now?
Well, we acquired it for £315,000 after Block had been put on an export licence. Otherwise, it would have gone out of the country. But many people actually contributed to this, and there it is in this house. I'm sure, really, that at night there's a glow over Lancaster, because beneath it, this wonderful piece of furniture is in the judges' lodgings. What a marvellous piece.
Lancaster's history where it belongs in Lancaster.
Absolutely. There couldn't be a better place for it.
Now tell me about this chap, Thomas Covell. He keeps cropping up with the Lancashire witches.
Yes, indeed. You know, Thomas Covell is a different kettle of fish altogether. He appears at first sight as just being the keeper of Lancaster Castle at the time when the witch trials were going on. And certainly it's true that in his capacity as keeper, he was responsible for imprisoning them, and indeed he was responsible for the arrangements of their execution. But what is really sinister is that he set out to catch them in the first place. So really, in Thomas Covell, you've really got one of the worst baiters, witch baiters, of the Tudor period.
Why did he set out to catch them?
difficult really to know. I think he regarded Lancaster as his own personal fiefdom. He ran the area like a baron, and presumably, like so many others at the time, he may very well have believed that the witches really were witches. And certainly when it came to Roman Catholics, of course, at that particular age, he hated those as well. He was responsible for many Catholics, many witches being executed in this area. He was the prime mover. He really was a witch baiter.
And on their way to the gallows, they would pass the Golden Lion pub, now owned by Patricia Rogers. Now, this place has a serious reputation, doesn't it, Pat?
It certainly does, and particularly about the Pendle witches who were here August the 20th, 1612. Very sadly, because I think they were just poor wretches, very, very, very sad people. I don't think there's any evil intent at all. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I really do feel this. I've researched it quite a lot. And, but yes, there's lots of atmosphere here. Lots of funny things have happened that I can't really explain. Very, very mysterious things, including actually the cider barrel actually emptying, I mean not once but twice. That would have been very, very hard to explain to the VAT man. So I had draft cider taken out for a short while. That's absolutely true.
So you believe that the witches were victims of the age?
I certainly do. Yes, I certainly do.
What part did this pub play in their story?
Well, the only part really it did play was this is where they came for the last drink before their execution, before they were hung at Golgotha village.
This then was always the place where the victims would come and have their last
Yes, there
drink?
wasn't anybody else. No other pub involved.
So not just the
one.
witches, but anybody?
Anybody at all, yes. In fact, the story goes, the man who haunts the pub, he actually refused the last drink, and because he was teetotal. So he went, sadly, so he went straight up the hill, and of course it was too late because the reprieve came to the pub and he'd already gone. So he's the one that's coming back rather disturbed from time to time.
Gosh, so he actually now haunts the pub.
The thing is, I've had things happen, and the amazing thing is, it happens at certain times. If there's something disturbing around me, and which things have happened to me while I've been here, perhaps unfair things have happened to me, it's been like a warning. And something comes and it's like it tells me, and when the person that's been disruptive has been removed, everything stops. So there really is something. I'm a Cancerian and I'm a very sensitive one.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that I do pick up certain things, the vibes are there.